Hi, it's Tricia Johnston, residential realtor with Ladder & Bloom with your real estate tip of the week. The hot topic in real estate right now is the new flood insurance risk rating system called Risk Rating 2.0. It's set to go into effect for new flood insurance policies on October 1st if we don't have a government shutdown, and on April 1st of 2022 for flood insurance policy renewals. The reason they've come up with this new risk rating system is because the existing one is outdated and not effective. So hopefully more people will have confidence in this new risk rating and will obtain flood insurance. Right now, only 1 in 4 properties in the state of Louisiana are covered by flood insurance through the National Flood Insurance Program. So with the new risk rating system, about 20% of current policyholders will see a decrease in their premium. For those who see an increase in their flood insurance premium, they're going to put a cap on how much it can go up per year. There's a lot more information, so tune in again next week where I'll have some more of the details on how this may affect your flood insurance premium. If you have any questions about real estate before then, just give me a call. I'm Tricia Johnston with Ladder & Bloom, and I'll be back here next week with more information on this topic for you.
Hi folks, I want to tell you about Denim Springs Fit Body Boot Camp and their 28-day, $77 Jumpstart program. There's no strings attached and really no reason not to try. You can be in and out in just 30 minutes, and best of all, these 30-minute sessions are scheduled throughout the mornings and evenings to fit your busy schedule. These 30-minute sessions are fun, positive, encouraging, and you can even sign up online. Just visit getfitdenimsprings.com. Denim Springs Fit Body Boot Camp, a proud sponsor of Local Leaders, the podcast. Hey, welcome back to Local Leaders of the Podcast. This is episode number 126, and sitting across from me today is Matt Holmes of Holmes Building Materials right here in Denim Springs. How are you?
Doing well. Yourself?
I'm doing great. To talk all about family business and what it's like to be a fourth generation guy in the private building materials business, which you are. So your great grandfather started Holmes Building Materials, correct?
He did. My great grandfather and grandfather started together, and it was actually started as Holmes Brick and Salvage.
Okay.
So they would go in, and everything that's expensive nowadays is what they were wrecking back then. So old brick, pine beams. They would go into churches, old barns and buildings, and they would salvage any materials that they could. Everything else they would throw away. They'd salvage anything, and they would resell it. And we have some old pictures of the store on Greenville Springs right there by Choctaw.
Yes.
And some overhead shots that someone took back about that time frame. And like some of the pictures were just funny. I mean, it looks like trash. It really does. But I mean, they were selling it and apparently doing okay. People would come in and say, hey, I'll take these old beams and I need some 2x4s, or I need something to put them up with, or just something to go along with them. So slowly over time, it transitioned out of a brick and salvage yard into a building material selling only new product, which is what we do now and have been since mid 80s.
Interesting.
But I can remember as like a kid, we would still have like the one old rack of like screen doors or old windows, or every now and then when somebody would walk in and like, hey, y'all used to have old window sashes. Do y'all have, they're probably painting them or making mirrors out of them or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
But do y'all have any old window sashes? I'm like, man, we got rid of those. I remember them because they had wasp nests in them and I would have to go dig through them, but we got rid of those a long time ago.
That's great.
So that's, it transitioned late 70s, mid 80s into really selling new product, kind of when my dad got into the business and got out of high school and college. And he's done a great job growing it and getting it to where he could hand it off to me, right?
Absolutely.
So I'm really proud of our family and what generations before me have been able to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And we were kind of talking about that off camera, how rare it is to have that continued generational continuation, I guess you could say, of business for family-owned companies, which is something around here that we provide a huge focus on. Very important to support your family-owned companies in any area of the world that you live in. But in Holmes' case, so you had which store was first? You have two. You have one on over off Choctaw and Airline.
So correct, and then one on Florida Boulevard in Denim Springs. So we originally started with the original store that was on Greenville Springs, right by Choctaw.
Yes.
Not the best part of town. At some point in 1957, it was probably out in the country.
Yeah.
But as things grew around it, not necessarily the best part of town. And it was small. It was never made to be a lumber yard. And so we worked with what we had because that's what we had. It was 2 acres. Right before Katrina hit, we had the opportunity to buy Smith Building Materials, which was in Denim Springs on Florida Boulevard. Yes. So we did, and it turned out to be great timing with Katrina happening literally 30 days later.
Amazing.
So we've owned that now, and then we took and bought Ed Price Building Materials, which was on Airline Highway, which was originally built to be a lumber yard and much bigger. So it was 9 acres. So then we got the opportunity to consolidate a couple of locations into one on Airline Highway in those 9 acres. So we have the one store on Airline Highway now, and then we have the old Smith Building Materials, Holmes Building Materials on Florida Boulevard in Denim Springs.
Fantastic. Do it best. How does that correlate to Holmes?
So they're a great partner of ours. They're our co-op.
Got you.
So people have probably heard of Ace and True Value just because they advertise. And when they advertise, very rarely do they say the local store. They advertise as Ace when you see a commercial, right? Or True Value. Well, Do It Best branding was, I'm going to promote the local owner, and Do It Best will be behind the scenes. So if you drive up to the store, there'll be a Do It Best sign, but most people don't know what that means. That's our way to compete with a Lowe's and a Home Depot on buying power. So if you take 2,000 stores around the country, well then, and Do It Best is buying for those 2,000 stores, then I can buy a screwdriver or a hammer or even a 2x4 for the same price that the big boys can.
Yes.
And it would be very, very hard to do that just having 2 stores, right?
Yes.
The one thing that separates Do It from an Ace and a True Value is we can buy lumber and building materials through them, which you can't through Ace and True Value. Usually when you go to that, those are just hardware stores.
Yeah.
So it's really nice. We can buy lumber and building materials through Do It Best. We also buy our hardware from them. So it's been a really good partnership. It's been one of the best things that we've done for our business.
Very good. And well-known name there with Do It Best. Familiar with that. Now a little bit about you personally outside of your business. You have 2 kids?
I do. I have 2 kids. My daughter just turned 12.
Wow.
And then she's Olivia. And then I have Ben, who's 9 and in 4th grade. So they're a blast. They're at really good ages.
Yes.
You get over them being little and changing diapers, and I'm not into what I perceive as like big kids and big problems yet.
Yeah.
So I'm at like a really good time frame right now.
You're at a great age. Yeah.
Correct.
Mine are 16 now.
Yeah.
I have twin girls and no hair, and that explains it. Right?
That explains a lot because they're driving and right.
Oh yeah, and emotional and all sorts of things. It's so funny when they get to 16, but fun. Love them to death. Now your wife is a pediatrician?
She is. She works at the Baton Rouge Clinic.
Awesome.
Christina Holmes. We went to med school. I say we went to med school. I feel like I was in med school, although I wasn't. So we both graduated from LSU in 2007 and then moved to Shreveport. She got in medical school up there.
Yeah.
We had been high school sweethearts. And so I wasn't going to let her go to Shreveport and me stay down here, and I wasn't going to move to Shreveport and not be married. That didn't make any sense. Right. So we got married right after college, moved to Shreveport, lived there for 4 years. I was a superintendent for a regional builder, United Built Homes.
Yep.
So I got a chance to be on the other end of the desk saying like, hey, where's my lumber at? What happened to this? So on and so forth.
Yes.
So it gave me some really good experience to then come back to Baton Rouge and say like, look, I know what you're going through. I know how to build a house. I know what you're going through, so on and so forth.
Hey ladies, it's Pate with Idell Lane Spa and Boutique, located in Walker. We offer all things skincare, hair care, makeup, spray tan, lashes, and more. And we have a full selection of clothes. And we also do private events from birthday parties, bridal showers, and more. So stop by today and get your queen on, making every woman a queen. See you soon.
Awesome. And, interesting thing with you, and I'm glad you mentioned that you graduated from LSU, because you have a lot of educational experience behind what you do. Construction management is what you graduated in. That's huge. That's in your field, right? Sure.
It's in my field. Maybe I should have had more of a business degree at this point, because it was funny graduating construction management. And then going work for a company where you're building homes, other people's dream homes.
Yes.
You should know how to do that. And I literally had no idea in 2007. Like, you graduate with a degree that's on paper, and then you go like, I don't know how to operate in the real world at all. Right. So it takes real world experience. But it was going to LSU, graduating in that. I knew I always wanted to be in construction, one way, shape, or form.
Yes.
I'd seen my dad do the same thing and really appreciated that. And then I get joy and a lot of fulfillment for building things. I mean, think about a house, right? You start with nothing. It's a piece of dirt. And at the end of it, it's a house. Now, whether I'm supplying materials for that house or building that house or whatever it is, we get the opportunity to be able to make that house look good. You know, 2x4s don't always look pretty, and I get that. That's fine. They get covered up and nobody cares about those.
Right.
Windows and doors are the probably the biggest thing that we sell, that we get an opportunity to say like, hey, look, you wanted this. I switched you to this series or style because I think it looks better, and look how beautiful your house looks. You go drive by it and it makes you feel good inside.
Sure.
And so that was the reason that's why I've liked construction and liked it this whole time.
Well, the aesthetics are what everybody sees, and from the paint color to the doors and the architecture, maybe the trim, it has some interesting qualities to it. All of those things are important, and I like you, I notice those things.
Sure.
When you got triple crown and it looks really nice, I noticed that.
And you're in the industry, and you probably walked in a house and you go, "Ooh, that paint color, I shouldn't have done that," right? But you don't say anything.
That's beautiful. I never thought that would go. And everybody, it's interesting. Everybody has their own taste, and sometimes you see things and you would never think they'd work, and then they get up and they're on a house, and it's like, wow, that really does pop. It works.
Right. They had a better vision than I did.
Got to New Orleans sometimes. Check out them paint colors over there.
Right.
Get a little wild over there in New Orleans. But you literally grew up in this business. You worked there at a young age?
Sure. So my first experience, and I've told this story a couple of times, so if you've heard it, I apologize. But my first experience working for Dad and for the business was, I really wanted a Fossil watch. Fossil's a name brand. It was probably $50 then. I was in 6th grade, and my dad was like, absolutely, I'm not buying you a $50 watch. And I would agree with that statement. You're going to lose it, whatever, right?
Yeah.
And he said, but you can come work for me, and you can earn $50, and then you can buy whatever you want to buy. So I think he was paying me like $3 or $4 an hour or something like that. I was sweeping floors. I was in 6th grade. My mom would drop me off after school. I would do it a little bit in the summertime. And as soon as I got my $50, I immediately quit. I bought my Fossil watch, and then I was good until I needed something else. And then I went back to work. Right.
Yeah.
So growing up in it through junior high and high school, I would always work a little bit in the business.
Sure.
Dad was a real big proponent of me getting some outside experience and working in the real world, right? So what we did through high school and a little bit in college. High school, I'd always have a summer job with someone, and it was always a builder. It was a remodeler, and he was gutting a house, so I was the guy in there sweating, gutting, ripping off sheetrock, doing whatever, right? The next summer, it would be with another builder, and I would be doing something else, just whatever day labor is, right? In college, I started doing estimating because that's one service that we provide. And it was one of those things where if I was going to college full time and the store is only open till 5 o'clock, there's only so many hours that I could work at the store, which was 1 or 2 a day. And it just didn't make any sense. So Dad taught me how to do estimating. So we would estimate. If you bring me a set of plans and you say, hey, I don't know what I need to build this, can you please do a takeoff for it, right? So I could do that on my own free time whenever I wanted to. I wound up doing one for a gentleman named David Falk, who at that point worked for Bouquet and LeBlanc. Yeah. And he said, "Man, you know how to do that?" And I was like, I think so. I know what my dad taught me, right? And he's like, so they hired me. So I worked there for a couple of years in college, helping out estimating. So that worked. That really taught me a lot. So I learned a little bit on the commercial side, graduated college, went and worked for United Built Homes. So I've gotten some good outside experience, which I think has really paid off.
Yes. And shout out to your dad, because that's probably the best thing he could have ever done. I'll tell you, I sit down with a lot of business owners, and you would be surprised how many that have, I don't know if you call it passed down their business, but almost in all cases, they have them work for someone else. And a lot of them say it's because they want their son or whatever to know what it's like to work for someone else other than mom and dad, right? So very important, because when you, as a business owner, when you know what it's like to work for someone else, you carry that with you. And then when you're back at, in your case, Holmes Building Materials, you can relate. Sure. You can relate to people working for you because you worked for somebody else at one point. A huge thing and a big sign of leadership from your dad to do that. So shout out to him there. And what was it like working for those other folks? Was it a pleasant experience all around pretty much?
It was. I got to learn a lot.
Yeah.
I worked for some really good people. I worked for Eric Ponte for one summer. I worked for Newt Ogden for another summer. Both do some real nice custom remodels and new construction. And then obviously for Bouquet and LeBlanc, that was a different thing, because then I wasn't out in the field. I was behind a computer reviewing submittals and things like that. But it was great real world experience. I mean, you got hired, you could get fired.
Yeah.
I mean, there was things like, okay, am I gonna show up on time? You know, all of these things go through your head.
Absolutely.
When working for a family business. You get a little bit more leeway when it comes to that, right?
Yeah, Dad ain't gonna fire me.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Right.
You know, so it built. I think it built a good work ethic. I appreciate my dad doing that. I'm trying to impress that upon my son as we speak, because he's like, well, I just want to work for Holmes. I was like, no, man, like try again. He's like, well, I want to be a firefighter. I said, that's a good career. Like, let's explore that.
Yes. Very good. Very good. And y'all run a wonderful business over there. I have a huge affinity, especially for construction related family owned companies, but have really noticed the good work y'all have done. As a matter of fact, my house after the flood has y'all's building materials all over it.
Thank you.
And y'all really came through for me. I can speak from personal experience after that flood. And I want to talk about that a little bit, because that was a time where, and I can obviously say this from experience, but where everybody was stressed out because their house was, you know, wasn't only we need to renovate. I mean, their house was destroyed. And so you folks had, you know, I mean, I can't tell you how valuable it was that y'all were there for the community.
Sure.
It was huge, because it meant that we were starting to become whole again when we were putting up that sheetrock, or we were putting up those doors and all those sorts of things. What was it like during that time for y'all?
That was probably, I can't speak for my dad, but for me personally, that was probably the toughest period to be able to go through.
Yeah.
Whether it was just the sheer amount of hours that you were working in a day, trying to get product, having enough product, going home and renovating houses and dealing with other people doing that, and just the stress level that came with all of those things. We were really fortunate throughout the flood, where we're located. I never paid attention, but if you drive down Florida Boulevard from Amite River, it goes up just slightly where we're at. So the store did not flood. The lumberyard did, but I can deal with that. But the store itself did not flood. There was waves from some boats that went by that got like underneath the doorway. But all in all, we were really, really fortunate. So we were able to open up when probably 2 or 3 days later, when they opened up the bridges and those kind of things, we were able to open to whatever team members could make it there. It's like, look, guys, you got a place to come, right?
Yeah.
What was really tough to deal with is our guys were stressed out so much and working their tails off. And then what do they have to do when they get off? Like they're going home and they're sleeping on an air mattress in a house that has been flooded and working on their own houses.
Yeah.
So that was a really trying time for us and for many businesses, right?
Right.
I can remember, and I mean, we're doing all this. We have more people coming than we're set up for, and rightfully so. We're just trying to help out. At one point, if you bought anything from us, we were giving away cases of water. Like you could buy a screwdriver and you get a case of water. You buy whatever, and like just you leave the door and I have a pallet of water sitting out there. You just give out pallets, right?
Beautiful, yeah.
But it was a really trying time, and we have a parking lot that's probably set up for 20 people is being generous. Maybe 12 is more realistic.
Yeah.
And there's a Home Depot on Range, and it took them forever to get back open up for whatever reason. And I remember the day they opened, we were like, oh, thank God.
Yeah.
Give me a little bit of a break. The only time we've
Yeah.
ever said that. But it was like, oh, thank God. Like we need a little bit of a break.
Yeah, because y'all were blessed. You were able to open almost right away.
Correct.
And we were blessed because you were able to open almost right away. But people had somewhere they could turn to that actually wasn't underwater. And, what if everything would have been like the Home Depot and would have been closed for 3 months or however long it was?
Sure.
But you're right. I mean, at some point, it's like, yeah, we can breathe again for at least a little bit.
Correct.
As nice as it is to get that influx of business, nobody wants to get it that way.
And you can't deal with it in an efficient manner. I mean, customers are emotional coming in, and they're either thanking you for being open or they're agitated about their house. And like, we understand either of those, right?
Yes.
Because that's how all of our people were, right? So
absolutely.
Between helping the community and trying to be open and accessible to the influx that we had, that was a really, really tough time frame to go through.
I can imagine it was tough on your end as well. Telephone, tell a friend, tell everyone if you have been to Look at Me 4D Imaging. They have been nominated for Baton Rouge Parents Magazine's 2021 Family Favorite. Voting began September 1st, but it continues through September 30th. Please take a moment if you're a watcher of my podcast and go vote for them. And the best news is you can vote once per day. Look at Me 4D Imaging is your one and only local 3D and 4D early gender determination ultrasound studio located right here in Livingston Parish. They are here for all of your before birth ultrasound needs. So check them out on the web at lookatme4dimaging.com, and don't forget to vote. I'm going to include the link in the comments or the description of this podcast. Thanks so much. And I do want to mention that you have some pretty interesting leadership skills behind you in addition to your college skills, and that is you graduated Do It Best as a Leadership Development Institute that you attended.
That's correct.
And also Business Reports Leadership Academy in 2017, which I'm somewhat familiar with. So you graduated from both of those. How beneficial would you say those were from kind of the people management side of what you do?
So those two courses, the first one was Do It Best. I was working in outside sales for Holmes at that point. I was probably in it for a year or two after we had moved back from Shreveport. And leadership is all dealing with people, right?
Sure.
Like it's all communication. And at this point in my career, which it wasn't then, that's all I do. Like some people ask me like on a daily basis, hey, what do you do like every day? And I'm like, I deal with people and with problems.
Yes.
And if you can navigate those and you can treat those people right and you can lead them in the correct way, then you will mitigate the amount of problems that you have as well.
Absolutely.
So it makes life a little bit more pleasurable. But I mean, the leadership skills that they gave me in those two courses, I use on a daily basis. I would highly recommend the business report. Anyone in Baton Rouge, Livingston Parish, anywhere around can go to that. I would highly recommend it. To any Do It Best members, you would have to be one to go through their LDI class.
Sure.
But I mean, those two things were huge. I put other people through Do It Best, other team members through Do It Best program because I believed in it so much.
Yeah.
It's amazing when you look at every leadership quality, every problem that comes from either good or bad leadership, everything boils down to communication. And the more you can communicate, the better off you are. And that's a lot of what those classes and the books we read and the courses we took teach you.
100%. And, you mentioned earlier that one of the tough things of going through that flood period was that your employees were going through it, like you said, they were working all day, then they were going home, maybe they were rolling out walls, or they were doing whatever it was they were doing to get their own life straight. That tells me you have, you care about your employees. And that's kind of the difference between, I say this a lot, but the difference to me between a private family-owned company and a stock market company, for lack of a better term, is those private family-owned companies, those owners, they have a relationship with these employees. They care about these employees.
Sure.
They're part of the family, so to speak, and they're not just a number. So how important are the employees to the success of Holmes?
Our team members make it or break it, right? Yeah. So you can walk in as a customer and either what we sell is not unique. Very rarely is it unique inside the marketplace, right? You can buy a 2x4 anywhere. You can buy a piece of sheetrock anywhere. You can buy basically what we sell from a number of places. And you may have even driven by one or two of those places in order to buy it from me. So the only thing that separates us is our people. And I have found if we treat our people well, then our people feel good, and then they treat our customers well in return. And that's the biggest thing that we can ask for.
Yes.
A lot of our guys have a lot of experience, and that pays dividends when it comes to certain problems and questions that people come up with, right? But if they're in a good mood and they feel appreciated and they're not overworked and you have a work-life balance, which we really try to focus on, then you're just gonna have a better day, and you're gonna treat the customers better, right?
100%. And I say it all the time. I did a presentation yesterday, as a matter of fact, kind of centered around that, and that is what you want to give people in the experience of them doing business with you is you want to separate yourself with the service to the point that they feel like they can't get that anywhere else.
Sure.
When you walk in a family and business, no matter what it is, you want it to be like Cheers. You walk in and people are like, "Hey man, how are you?" And maybe they're not buying a 2x4 that day. Maybe they came by to get a cup of coffee and just shoot the breeze with, their sales rep there, whoever. That's what you want. Because that's a relationship. That's not walking in a big public company and buying a 2x4 and putting it on a cart and walking out the door and never speaking to anybody.
That's right? Exactly right. And we're really fortunate, especially at our Denham store, of having those people. I mean, like, it's funny. We open the doors technically at 6:30. We have people there at 6 o'clock loading trucks, and we have a couple of salespeople that come in early, and we have your regular customers that come in between 6 and 7, and every day they come, because every day they're going to buy a little bit of something, and maybe it's raining that day, and they're just used to coming by, and they're not working that day, but they come by and they drink a cup of coffee, and they shoot the breeze for a little while with some of our salespeople, and it's you get that from being involved in the community and having people that are involved with the community, and a lot of locally owned family businesses are, that's a real focus for a lot of them.
100%. Let's discuss a few things. First, I want to talk about trades in general. So I just want to get your opinion on this.
Sure.
One thing that I've been kind of on a tangent lately, especially, is I feel like college is a great thing. And there are some people made for college, and you definitely want to encourage that. But I feel like the trades, the painters, the sheetrock finishers, all those, pick a trade, the framers. Right now, there's kind of a shortage of a lot of that, and especially skilled. You have some guys and they're going to throw a ladder in the back of their truck and call themselves a painter. And then you have real painters and guys that are, third generation painters that, those sorts of things are real framers, and guys that throw a framing square in the back of their truck. Sure. There's a big difference. So trades, there are kind of a shortage of, and I feel like some of that is because as a society, we have encouraged college to the point that we've forgotten about the trades, and without the trades, we don't survive, right? Everything kind of starts with them. I almost credit a lot of the labor shortage now to the fact that There's just not skilled labor out there like there used to be. What are your thoughts on that? How important are those trades?
I agree. I think it was funny. We were at a Home Builders Association board meeting a couple of days ago and talking about what some of the biggest challenges that we face in construction, and the number one thing that comes up is labor and labor shortage, right? Yeah. And it is, for so many years, everyone has to go to college. What do you do after high school? You graduate and you go to college. That's if you want to be successful, that's what you need to do.
Yeah.
And that is not necessarily the case. For some people, that works out great. And you're never going to become an MD, a doctor, without going to college, right?
Yeah.
But that doesn't fit everybody's skill set or mantra, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. Some of the probably hardest hit skilled labor shortages are heating and air, plumbing, and electrical, your three mechanical. And those are some of the best paying jobs that are out there.
Yes.
Whether you're getting paid by the hour and you're a helper out of high school and you're 19, if you want to work in today's day and age, if you want to work, you should be employed and you should be working for somebody, right? There is as many people that are looking for labor. There is no excuse in my mind for somebody to say, well, I've applied to a job and I can't get it. Like that, I can tell you that doesn't happen at Holmes Building Materials. There's no way.
100%.
So labor shortage and skilled labor is by all means what is going to hold back production, whether that be residential, whether that be commercial, whether that be industrial. The industrial guys have a little bit more money to play with, but you also... So you may earn a little bit more by going to work in a plant, but then you also have more rules and regulations that if you don't dot your I's across your T's, you're not going to be working there for very long.
That's right.
So,
and working in a plant, you'd never be a business owner.
Correct.
You know, which is a beautiful thing. As a business owner, you know this, and I'll tell you, you got any questions on that? Go have a plumber snake out your pipes at your house, and then
see how much that is.
Yeah, they make good money, and there's very few of them. You know, right now, if you call a plumber and you just got a basic plumbing problem, he ain't coming that day. It's probably 3-4 days before he can get out there and fix it because they're so busy, because there's a lack of those guys. Same thing with electrical. Those guys make great money. And you can become a business owner that way.
That's 100% correct. And you don't have to have a whole lot of capital to be able to do that either.
Yeah.
That's the beautiful thing out of it. You just need to be hardworking. We have an age problem with that workforce demographic right now, right?
Right.
And those guys are getting older and retiring, those skilled people. And man, we are not replacing them. I don't know what the number is, but 10 of them retire and you may get one of them to replace them, right?
Yes.
You know, it's a really tough thing that we are going to be fighting now probably for decades.
I mean, not everybody wants to be a rocket scientist. Not everybody wants to, do something that will require a college degree. Sometimes they want to get out of high school and maybe take over their dad's plumbing business or electrical business or drywall business, and you can definitely do that, and you can buy everything from Holmes. They'll take care of you there too.
That's right. Well, and look, and there's when you're looking for your first job out of college, your college degree means a lot.
Yes.
And as soon as you're looking for a second or a third job, your college degree means very, very little. Right.
Yeah, experience is everything at
Correct.
that point.
Correct.
And the thing is, you can't, I don't know if this term will make sense, but you can't learn experience. So if you have someone with 20 years experience doing something, you could show me someone with a degree from Harvard and someone with 20 years experience. I'm probably going to take that guy with that 20 years experience.
Sure.
For sure. So let's talk about some of the things that have happened lately. One of the things when you spoke at the chamber event recently, by the way, did a phenomenal job. Man, I was glued to that thing. I was like, this guy has a great voice too. I got to get him on the show. You have a fabulous voice for radio. If the Holmes thing don't work out, you got a radio career.
I got the face for radio. That's a good thing.
There you go. That's a good one. So want to talk a little bit about what you discussed there, and that was at that time lumber was crazy. It was up there in cost. Of course, important to mention, this has nothing to, Holmes doesn't set the lumber prices nationally, unfortunately.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. That is obviously set by the market, and Holmes, buys lumber and then they resell it to a consumer. They don't go out there and cut the trees and all that sort of thing. So, a lot of your pricing is based off of that market, which is a lot like the gas. You could compare it to the gas market. I mean, it goes up and down kind of like gas.
So
right?
it's funny. People ask me like, hey, do you want to go to the casino and gamble? Do you want to bet on a sports bet or something like that? And it's like, man, I gamble all day, every day with a lot more money than I'm going to the casino with to gamble, right? Which is like probably $100.
Yeah.
So I'm good on my gambling side of things. So what people don't understand, and that gambling comes from being traded on the open market. So you are correct. Very much like oil and gas, lumber is traded on the open market. And there is a publication that comes out once a week. It's called Random Lengths. And that basically, which is kind of scary, that publication sets pricing on everything that we buy.
Yeah.
Every single item that we buy, they say, I'm going to charge you the price on Random Lengths plus a freight charge, and that's my landed cost, which then I mark it up to make a little money on it, right? So if my cost is higher, then obviously the sell price is higher. They're relative.
Absolutely.
And Random Lengths fluctuates. So back in that point, May and June this year were historically the highest lumber has ever traded for. And you could not find it. If you could find it, you're paying an arm and a leg for it. It was somewhere in the $1,600, $1,000 range. So when I talk about that, per thousand is per thousand board feet. We don't sell lumber in per thousand board feet anymore. We used to. We don't anymore, but we still have to buy it that way. So it's, people don't understand, like, it is a fluctuating market. And granted, a can of beans at the grocery store, technically that could fluctuate maybe by pennies.
Yeah.
But I mean, you're talking about 99 cents, $1.02, 98 cents. Like, you find a good deal and it's 95 cents, right?
Right.
Lumber has gone from a sheet of OSB, which everybody's pretty familiar with. It's the stuff that they put on the outside of your house for wall sheathing. That used to be $10 a sheet. It got up to as much as $55 a sheet. It's somewhere in the $15 to $20 range right now. Yeah. So it's much more manageable right now from a consumer standpoint if you have to go out and buy it. But the sheer fact of when it was $55, in literally 30 days, it dropped to being 15 to 20 in 30 days. So then crazy. The inventory that I had on hand was super expensive, right?
Yeah.
Which is not fun on a downward turning market, but you make a little bit on the upward turning market. So you would hope those two things offset. But people just don't understand, people that are not in the industry, how much that fluctuates. Now, builders over the last year and a half have gotten to understand that very much so, more than they ever have, because when things used to fluctuate, OSB, for example, could be $10, it could be $11, maybe it got really expensive and it was $12.50, then it went down to $9. So a builder never really got hurt because he's given a price to somebody. It could be 6 months before he gives a proposal, and that could be a hard money proposal. And then they decide to get the financing, they get the job, and they go forward with it. Well, are those numbers from 6 months ago still good anymore? And it used to be, they were good enough to where, like, it was okay. Like, it was manageable. Even if we lost a little bit, they lost a little bit, it was okay. Well, when you go from, I quoted it at $15 and now it's $40 or $55, no one can bridge that gap. There's not enough money to be made building a house to be able to bridge that gap.
Correct.
So that put a lot of people in a bind. And it's just, so builders have become more educated over the last year and a half because they don't want to get in a bind. And so, I mean, we're consistently sending those reports, Random Lengths. You have to pay for them to get them, but we're consistently sending those out to some of our customers, saying like, hey, just watch the market, be careful what you're quoting, so on and so forth.
Very good. Very good. And that's valuable that you're educating your builders and the people that do business with you and say, hey, this is what's kind of going on the other side of that. And, you know, it's interesting, Matt, in a former life, I was in a similar field, and And it used to be we could guarantee pricing, right? So it was like, to guarantee that for a year. I guarantee that for 90 days.
One price increase sometime in January, and then the rest of it, you're good.
Yeah.
Right.
It got to the point where basically I was guaranteeing nothing. Like, this is your price today.
We had, we were dealing with some big multifamily jobs, and we said, look, this price is good for 48 hours.
Yeah.
And that's only if you give me the PO in 24 hours, then the price is only good if I can physically find the product in the next 24 hours. And if I can't, none of it's good anymore.
Right.
I mean, it's not worth the paper it's written on.
Yes.
Which it makes it really tough.
It really does, especially with commercial projects where I have some relationship with some architects that, they were telling me they would have to literally rebid entire jobs because commercial projects don't kick off right away.
That's exactly right.
You bid the job and then it's 3, 4, 5 months before maybe even anything starts.
Sure.
Or longer. And they were getting to the point where they were ready to start, and they'd contact that architect, and that architect would be like, hold up. That lumber's went up. And in a commercial setting, you could be talking about a $300,000 difference in material overall on a big commercial project.
Yeah,
right?
I mean,
that's a rebid.
and it goes both ways. I mean, we helped somebody roll the dice. At one point, the lumber bid was $1.2 million for a multifamily complex. That was at the peak. They said, what do we do? I said, man, I'd roll the dice. You don't need it right now. Let's roll the dice. Let's wait. Yeah. And that number turned into a $700,000 number.
Yeah.
In about 45 to 60 days.
Oh my gosh.
So, I mean, they were ecstatic at that point, but the budget was 700. So they really didn't save anything. They just came in at the budget that they had. But then the other problem you have is some manufacturers, they've been so busy, they just don't, if the manufacturer can't make money, then they're just not going to produce it anymore.
Yeah.
So you have somebody that used to have 25 SKUs. Well, now they say, I'm not producing all those 25 because the change to go from 1 to 2 takes too long. And so instead of 25, I'm going to make 7.
Yeah.
Well, that's fine until one of the other ones are spec'd out on a commercial job. And then you have to call somebody and say, hey, not only is your stuff going to be more expensive, now they just don't make it. So like you physically can't get that anywhere. So we got to go back to the drawing board and design something different.
Yeah. Fit Blends of Denim Springs can help you with everything from meal prep to supplements. I love it that they serve breakfast all day in addition to the best ultra healthy wraps you can really get anywhere in Livingston Parish. They are home of the $5 Smoothie Friday and are an amazing sponsor of Local Leaders, the podcast. Fit Blends Denim Springs, fast, fit food for you. Yeah, and it totally happens. I know on the paint side of things, really every manufacturer of paint ran out of flat paint at one point.
How do you run out of flat paint?
Ran out of flat. Yeah, I mean the resin, the vinyl acrylic resin that is required in paint, just ran flat out of it. Right. And let me tell you, it blew the minds of a lot of people because really this year has been like no other, not only COVID related, but just availability related. I saw a picture the other day of somewhere off the coast of California, and there was
all the tank, the boats and the tankers and everything. Yeah, no, I mean you woke up on January 1st, 2021. You go, thank God 2020 is over, right? Not to realize that by this point, 2021 is way worse than 2020.
Way worse. It's insane. And so every day you wake up to kind of a different thing. And of course, you as a building material place, you have to manage all that, right? And you have to say, look, COVID, when it reared its ugly head for the first time, I'm sure y'all were like everybody else, and you were like, okay, we need to do what we need to do to keep our employees safe, ourselves safe, and all of those sorts of things. Nobody knew,
and you were making it up as you went. At one point, we had plastic folding tables right when you walked in the Denim Springs store. You walked about 10 feet, and there's a plastic folding table with a salesperson and a computer, and you could not go in the store.
Yeah.
Because I could halfway control our people of like did you test positive? Okay, we're going to send you home. But
Yeah.
it was really hard for me to control the general public.
Yeah.
So then it was, do you need a screwdriver? Well, we'll go walk and get the screwdriver, and I hope we got you the right one, or we'll walk back and get another one, right?
Yes.
So I mean, but you were making it up as you went. And then we said at one point, okay, I think we're doing better as a community, so then we'll get rid of that. We'll let people back in the store, but we'll put up plastic shields, and everybody's wearing masks, of course, during all this and all that. And there's no set of rules or regulations or guidelines. You know,
Right.
there isn't. There's recommendations, but you know, are those the correct ones or not? That gets into a whole nother topic and discussion. But it's really hard to navigate the waters because they've never been done before.
Absolutely. And then from the standpoint of a business owner, the issue becomes, you know, you have to stay staffed. So it's like, what do we do? You know, if one guy gets sick, do we have to shut the whole place down? It's like, and it's, you know, insane.
I would agree. There was a point in our Denham store when it was between Christmas and New Year's. So if this had to happen, that was the best timing. But we had to shut the entire store down because we had 5 or 6 people test positive inside the store, of which we have maybe 13 or 15.
Yeah.
So, I mean, a third of the population test positive within 24 hours.
Yeah.
So we shut it down. That's a lot of people are hunting during that time frame and taking a little bit of time off. So that was a really convenient thing timing wise. But it's still, I mean, how do you, who make, you know, as a business owner, you have to make some hard decisions, and sometimes they're right and sometimes they're wrong.
That's right.
But you don't know it as you're doing that. You know?
and that was a time, you know, and still a time of, it seems like we're learning every day.
Sure.
You know, and
still are.
One thing I say with COVID is, if it did anything for the business owner, it forced us to all kind of innovate. It forced us to think of other ways to sell whatever it was we were selling, just in case, you know, something happens.
You got to think outside the box. That's the only way you're going to survive.
Period. And stay ahead of the curve on things like that. So y'all have done a great job of that. And again, you know, they have, of course, the Airline Highway location that used to be at Price,
Sure.
and the location right here in Denim Springs, it's everybody's familiar with, on Florida Boulevard as you're going towards Walker on the right hand side. And I've been there many times. I can tell you, the great guys over there. Your paint guy over there is amazing.
Robert does a really good job. I'll give him a plug. He's one of the best.
Oh yeah, and he's only been doing it like 100 years.
That's exactly right.
He's old.
That's exactly right. I mean, he's mixing paint by hand. You know, saying, "Hey, I can tint this and do that. And what about this color? That look okay?"
Yes,
you know.
Yeah. So I asked you on your questionnaire about your largest influence in your business, and you said your dad, John.
Go figure, right?
Go figure. But you said you've always looked up to him and how he's handled himself in any type of situation, whether it be good or bad. He's a great businessman and a leader of people. He retired a couple of years ago, but it goes without saying that his influences are still being felt. How beneficial was it to have your dad to just watch, man, and you know, in that business?
It was a great thing for me to learn from one of the best in the business, and he truly is one of the best in the business. He's one of the nicest guys. I mean, very rarely. And sometimes he gets put in awkward positions, whether it's somebody that owes us some money on something that they bought or whatever the scenario is. And very rarely does he leave a situation, or do I meet somebody and says, "Hey man, I hate your dad. He's a terrible person." Like I can't picture anyone saying that because of the way that he handles himself.
Yeah.
And so it was great to be able to learn from that. I mean, some of the things that he did for his team back then are still setting the stage for us now, because we have some employees that have been with us for a long, long time.
Yes.
You know, and he did a very good job throughout our transition. And this was really his transition, because I was just along for the ride saying like, okay, you want to retire in 5 years? That sounds good to me. Okay, no problem. Right. Like, so he did a lot of homework and work to be able to transition the business in a good method, because it's hard going from first generation to second or third to fourth or whatever the scenario is, right? Mm-hmm. And I really commend and applaud him for that. At the end of the day, like the transition, it's a business proposal, right? It's not about me being his son or him being my dad. This is about business, and that's the way that he treats it. And I think that I really respect that. At the same time, his love for the people that work for him, it's not about a location. I was really surprised whenever we shut Greenville Springs down. He and I were there the last day that it was really not even open, but like we were closing the doors, and you can tell, like, I'll get emotional about this.
Yeah.
And I said, how do you feel about all this? I mean, this was only 5 or 6 years ago. So from 1957 until when he started in the company to then, like, this has been home. And he's like, the store doesn't do it for me. It's all about the people. So, like, whether we're here on Greenville Springs or whether we're a mile and a quarter away on Airline Highway, that doesn't necessarily matter to me. So I don't have any love for the actual building itself. At some point, everything's for sale, right? Yeah. But he had a huge love for the people that work for him. So as long as the people were moving from Greenville to Airline, he was perfectly good. No problem, no questions asked.
That's a beautiful thing. And it's obvious that you do too.
Sure.
And that's, I'll tell you this, if you ever want to know how a company treats their employees, look at the length of time they've been there. Mm-hmm. And when you have especially a family-owned company that has employees that have been there the length of time, your folks have been with you, you're treating them right.
Sure.
Because let's face it, people can go anywhere they want, in
especially
a lot
this
of
day and
cases.
age.
Yeah, right. There's no doubt about that. So obviously, you do a great job of taking care of your employees. And look, from business owner standpoint, employees may never realize how important it is. That business owner knows exactly how much responsibility they have, and they're literally making, they have the livelihood of these people in their hands, and so they care as much about that employee as that employee does their job in a lot of cases. So shout out to you guys for that. That's an extremely respectable thing. And your dad, it's funny, man. It's like you have this love for the building business, and that was, I'm sure, instilled by your dad, and he had a love for the building business, and it's a beautiful thing. I can only imagine what it's like to be a dad and pass that on to your son, and I'm sure his pride is just, he's just probably very proud of you for that. So you do a great job, man.
He is.
You can tell you love it. Now let me ask you, we haven't talked a whole lot about your services. So you have a vast variety of things that you offer, from drywall to paint to lumber. Give me a rundown of all the different offerings you have.
So people ask, like, well, I still get asked, like, do you sell to the public? I'm like, yes, you can walk in the store and buy whatever you would like. I'll be happy
public.
to sell whatever I can get to the public. So yes. But for some reason, we would get the mantra of just, well, you must sell to the builder, right? Like, all y'all do is service builders. And granted, that's a lot of what we do.
Yeah.
But I like to say that, like, we're really good at projects.
Yeah.
You can walk in and buy a nut or a bolt or anything, but like when you have a project, now that project may be my toilet is leaking, that's a project. And we have somebody that can help you fix, like, the flappy thingy, because you don't know what it's called inside the toilet, right? Like, I know what that flappy thingy is. I'll help you with it, right?
Absolutely.
The project could be a deck that you need to build, and you want it 10 foot by 10 foot, and you need a set of steps, but I don't really know what else I need, right? Yeah. That's another project that we can help with, or we can help with the project of building a house or working on a commercial job. So we have a wide variety of items that we sell. Our biggest product mix and categories are obviously lumber and building materials is one. We sell a bunch of drywall and insulation. We are a little unique on doors just because we have our own door shop.
Yeah.
So we buy trucks of door slabs and we turn them into something usable. No one's buying a door slab. They're buying a door unit, which has a jamb and trim and is ready to hang in a hole. Yeah. So then we bore them and we hinge them and we put jams on them. So we do all that in-house at Airline Highway, and there's not another door shop in Baton Rouge that's like that. There really isn't. So that makes us a little bit unique. We still sell a bunch of windows, so that's another product category. Roofing right now is a huge product category with the storm that's come through. And then flooring is one of those things, and we really excel in flooring at Denim Springs. Sherry does a great job for us over there, and that's another one of those things where we actually get to pick and like say, ooh, this looks good and this is trendy, which is always nice to sell some of those things.
Awesome. Fantastic. And just friendly people over there. I've experienced, I go over there pretty frequently and get different things. I actually served in Leadership Livingston with Price.
With Todd.
With Todd. Sure. Yeah. He was in my class. So,
okay. Well, good.
Had a good time with him and all the people over there at Holmes Building Supply. Now, I do want to mention William Waldrop of TWFG Insurance cares. He cares about his customers, their families, and the Livingston Parish community. Call William Waldrop today for all your insurance needs at 225-667-2040. TWFG Insurance and William Waldrop. Their policy is caring. And they're a proud sponsor of Local Leaders, the podcast. We talked about leadership a little bit, and I asked you how you would define a leader, and you said a leader is someone who his team will follow into any situation because they know what a leader is made of. A leader must make known his work ethic, personality, determination, and humbleness. I think that is well said. A lot of people, they lead kind of with an iron fist, and so there's situations where maybe you have to do that with certain people, but really a leader showing determination, for example, they're willing to get in there and do whatever it is that needs to be done to make business happen. That's a great way of employees kind of looking off on the side and saying, hey, if he'll do it and he owns the company, then maybe I should do it. Or, it's not beneath him.
Sure.
Right?
And I learned it. Like my dad was once again a good role model when it comes to that. Cause he would, back when we had 15 people and it was just Greenville Springs, I mean, he literally would do anything that he had to, from answering the phone to buying the material to shipping it to driving it and all of that. And I learned that those leadership skills from him, and I hope and our management style, from our CFO to our two store managers to assistant managers, is much in the same. Yes. Of like, look, the manager, if I'm going around picking up bands on a yard because it looks messy and there's trash, I'm not going to walk by it. My store manager is not going to walk by it. My assistant manager isn't. And it just goes down and down and down. And then a forklift operator, in turn, isn't going to do it either, right? Yeah. Because he sees the person above him doing it.
That's right.
That to me is what leadership is all about.
100%. I agree 100%. Now, what parishes do you serve? Like, how far out will you go to deliver?
So the surrounding, I mean, I use Baton Rouge as the point of the radius, sure. Right? So usually within about 60 to 80 miles, depending on where we're going. We don't really go inside of New Orleans. I'll stay on the outskirts. That's a whole different market that I'm not necessarily interested in trying to drive a big truck down like downtown New Orleans.
Yeah, but a lot of one-way streets.
We have a good bit of business in Lafayette that we service. The North Shore has been good to us. Covington's been good to us. We'll go a little bit further than that every now and then going up north. I mean, Zachary, St. Francisville, all the way up until like the Mississippi border up there has been really good. So that's kind of our radius that we're working in. We're really fortunate to have a huge delivery fleet. So it's funny, I say a lot. We have some builders and some people that they have a relationship with a salesman and they have never been in the store. Yeah. Like, because I've had some guy that's bought from us for 5 years, and he's like, I asked him to have a meeting at the store, and he goes, what's the address again? How do I get there? Yeah. I'm like, man, you've bought for us from 5 years. He goes, well, y'all just ship me everything. I don't need to go to the store, right? Yeah. So that's really convenient for people working on projects.
It really is, and the salesperson's been taking care of him, and that's right. That's a good thing. But yeah, in my former life, I had a lot of people that couldn't tell you where we were located.
You just make it happen.
Yeah, they still call.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
You make it happen.
Yeah. So good to mention. Yeah, you have a huge fleet of delivery trucks, and you can place an order for a whole house, and they'll deliver it out to you if you're within that radius. No problem. You get it there.
And you, at the same time, you can place an order for one piece a quarter round, and unfortunately, we will deliver that as well.
I wasn't going to say that.
So it works both ways.
Yeah,
it works
that's
both
right.
ways. You win some and you lose some.
That's right. Very good. So pretty much, if you need something in the builder material realm, there's a good chance Holmes Building has it. So and they're right there in Baton Rouge, off conveniently located right off Airline, and then they have their location here in Denham, which is right almost in the heart of town here in Denim Springs. Can't miss it, and everybody knows where it's at. So go see them at those two locations. Now, do you have an online presence, like a website and all that sort of thing?
We do have a website. It's buildwithholmes.com. Okay. We do not currently sell product on the website just because anyone could sell product on the website. Like what my thought is, what really makes us different is our people. So when you go on the website, you will see a lot of call 664-4126 or call 926-2031, right? Because we want you to call the store and talk to one of our people that can help guide you along whatever process that is.
That's a great point.
I don't know if that's old school or not, but that's my mindset. And
I like it.
Until Amazon starts figuring out how to ship truckloads of lumber, then I'm a little safe in that.
Let's hope that never happens. I don't want to see that day.
Right.
So yeah, check them out on the web, and I'll link your website to the description of this video, so make it easy on you folks that are about to run out there and buy them out of all their lumber by clicking on that link. So go check that out. Give them a call. They can walk you through anything. And look, if somebody just has, I'm one of them. Anything outside of like paint, I can't really tell you a whole lot about it. So I will be one of those guys walking in the store and saying, I need one of them jiggly things that goes in the toilet. They're willing to answer questions over there at Holmes, right?
That's right. And
no question is too dumb.
Well, and look, and if we don't, if for some reason, like that's just not our forte, like we're going to sell what we're good at. And if we can't be good at it, then we're not going to sell it. And maybe you need vinyl siding. Well, we're just not the vinyl siding guy. Maybe you need a metal building and you think because we're a building material person, we can do metal buildings. I'm going to say, hey, go down to Walker Metals, right? Like, so I'm never should you say, hey, I need a 10 by 10 metal building. We should just not say, hey, we don't do that. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
We should recommend you to like, hey, I've used this person in the past. They do a great job. Why don't you call Jack? Right.
Absolutely.
So that's
referral partners are a great thing.
And it is really hard for me to tell somebody no.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll say that's just not us, but here you can do this, right? I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
But it is hard for me to tell somebody no.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And if someone's, let's say they're just looking for a guy to hang sheetrock for them or something like that, y'all have people that you will refer out for that?
There's actually a form on the website, a little questionnaire, because we do know a lot of trades of if you have, we had a lady, she filled one out. She said, I have a window already. I have a rotten window and I bought a window already. I just need somebody to put it in. Can you recommend somebody? And she filled it out through through the website. And then we recommended somebody that we know that installs windows. She didn't buy the window from me, the first one or the second one, but I appreciated her. I mean, like she was using the website for the right purpose.
Absolutely.
Of contacting us and asking us for advice and guidance. And that's all I can ask for.
Yeah. Absolutely. And that guy that got that job or whatever, what a great thing for y'all to do for your people that buy from you.
Sure.
That, hey, you're doing business with us every day. We're familiar with your work. We know you do good work. So we have a website set up. And if people are just looking for a trade of some sort, we'll be happy to refer you for that. So trades, keep that in mind and go make a relationship with those folks at Holmes and do great things partnering together, which is important.
That's right.
Thank you for coming on today, man.
That's no problem. This has been fun.
And I could talk this stuff for hours, but we would probably lose listeners in a little while. So.
I would agree with that. I don't think either one of us are that interesting.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. But I appreciate you coming on. You are absolutely a local leader. I was impressed the first time I heard you speak, and I am honored that you came on the show. We're going to push this out real soon. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much for having me. It's been a pleasure. This has been great. This is a great venue to be able to get local leaders out in the community of Livingston Parish.
Absolutely. And I do want to thank all the viewers and listeners of Local Leaders of Podcast. I want to thank all my sponsors. I couldn't do any of this without all of them, Matt. There's no doubt about that. So thank you very much, sponsors. And if you have a desire to be on Local Leaders of Podcast, you can go to www.localleadersofpodcast.com and get all the information on that. I am Jim Chapman, reminding you to love your community, support local business like Holmes Building Materials, and keep leading. Thanks for coming on, Matt.
Thank y'all.
Stephanie Berthelot and the crew at SR Enterprise can handle it all, from sheetrock to texture to paint. Give Stephanie a call at 504-432-9284. SR Enterprise, where they spread the paint and you spread the word.